Welcome to the Black Knight Nation podcast. I'm Sal Interdonado. The Black Knight Nation podcast is brought to you by Higher Echelon. Higher Echelon is a world-class consulting firm that trains employees in sports psychology secrets that drastically improve work performance. Its founder is Joe Ross. Joe Ross played fullback for Army. He also was an assistant coach at Army, and we thank Joe Ross for sponsoring this podcast. This is podcast number 46 according to Apple. You could follow us and subscribe on Apple, Amazon, Spotify, and we also have a YouTube channel that you can subscribe to at Black Knight Nation. And we'd like to welcome in our guest tonight, Rhyan England. Rhyan, thanks for joining us tonight.
Thanks. I really appreciate you having me on here. Great to catch up and talk a little bit about Army football.
Absolutely. I really appreciate you hopping on. Your station in Hawaii, so there's a big time difference, and we were able to make this happen. I was on break a little bit away from the podcast game, so you're our first podcast back, and what a great guest to have on for a podcast, considering, Ryan, when you were at West Point, that was when the turnaround the football program happened, right? I mean, that was I was going over that 2017 season and just the games that were you guys were able to play to the last second, pulling out wins, big victories, winning the Commander-in-Chief's trophy. When you think back on it, what are some of the memories that stand out for you in your playing career?
Yeah, freshman and sophomore year, we were I went 2-10 and then 4-8. And the biggest thing there was we were always in the games. The problem was we never actually won them, and it always came down to the last minute. 2017, we kind of turned it around, and a lot of those games still came down to the last minute of the game, but we ended up finding a way to win. So that was the biggest difference. I think the culture change really started taking place kind of freshman, sophomore year, and then it kind of just paid off in the end. And I think a lot of the big memories I always have is, the very first time we beat Navy, that was a huge one because I think we lost 14 straight to them. And then obviously getting the Commander-in-Chief's trophy in Philly was another accomplishment that not a lot of previous teams before us had, unless you go way back to, whenever they were winning national championships and Heisman Trophy winners. But it was definitely a big turnaround for the program, and I'm happy to be a part of that big turnaround. But even now, I think the teams are even better talent-wise than we were, truthfully. But because nowadays, you have Markelle. I think he just got promoted to captain as a junior, which is huge accomplishment for him. Proud of him, and those teams. I hope they just keep getting better and keep winning Commander-in-Chief trophies, because I think those are amazing experiences that you'll never forget. And then being a part of that team, I think the biggest thing, people always talk about football being the experience, but truthfully, it's really the brotherhood and being able to still connect with those guys. We still have group messages. We try to see each other every single year. Everybody flies down for the game and all that stuff. So that's really the biggest thing for me, is really having a brotherhood for life.
No doubt. If people who are listening right now or watching, if you have any comments to post or questions to ask Ryan or myself, please feel free to do. First off, Ryan, when we get into these podcasts, we like to talk about how you got to West Point and the journey to West Point. And I know you were an all-state football player in Georgia, right? And I know that, I believe it's Collins Hill High School. Is that right?
Yep, correct.
Yeah, and so how did you get to West Point? How did the recruiting go, and how did you end up at West Point?
So my story is a little different than the other guys. I was recruited by Coach Monken and Brent Davis whenever they were down at Georgia Southern, and then they ended up leaving, went to West Point, and still continued to recruit me, which is, I'm very grateful for the opportunity, because without them, I might not have been a Black Knight. So I was getting recruited by them at Georgia Southern, had an offer to actually go down there and play receiver, and then whenever they went up there and took the job for West Point, they gave me another offer and actually offered me to be a running back. And then for me, my dad and my grandpa were all in the Army. So it was kind of something I always wanted to do. I kind of just prayed on it, and then, it ended up happening, because I think talked to my parents about it. They said, go wherever you think's best. They really didn't put a lot of pressure on where to go. They just wanted me to be successful and be happy where I went. And up there, academically, it's a top tier school. I did always want to kind of join the military or at least see the lifestyle of it. And then also you get to play for a D1 college. So to me, it kind of checked off all the blocks. So it kind of, I guess, wrote itself off. And then I'm happy I went there. I know there was a lot of challenges there. It's academically, I'm not going to say I was the best student, but, I passed somehow. So, yeah, I mean, it was a great experience. So I'm very grateful for Coach Monken and also Coach Davis for them both still continue to recruit me after Georgia Southern and then giving me the opportunity to go up there and play.
Yeah, I remember you telling me the story. You actually camped at Georgia Southern, right? Or no? Or is that how you kind of got on the radar, so to speak?
Yeah, there was a little camp. I think it was somewhere in South Carolina, but I think but Georgia Southern, or actually it might have been. I think it was a little town in Georgia. Okay. They hosted a camp and I went there, and there was a couple of good players. But I'm a very competitive person, so anytime I kind of looked out for whoever the best player was, and I try to do one-on-ones with them, I guess. And I think they realize my competitive nature. I talk a lot. I can't help it. It's just kind of in me. So yeah. And then they end up recruiting me. They actually recruited my brother as well, which was kind of put me on the radar. So. Yeah,
your brother ended up playing at Old Dominion, right? Or
he did. He went to FIU for a year and then went up to Old Dominion and played with Taylor Heineke.
Oh wow. Yeah, I remember, Ryan, you talk about your ability to talk, and I remember you were one of my favorite interviews. You're always a go-to guy, always willing to field my questions, how absurd they might have been, or I really appreciated that. You were always you were one of the vocal leaders, no doubt. And I remember talking. Well, first off, let's get to your start at West Point, right? It's your freshman year. You're playing slot back, and then in the middle of the season, right? I guess there might be some injuries going on there, and the coaches approach you, or how does it work that you end up playing, safety for the rest of your Army career?
I'm gonna give that one to Coach Bateman. I think he always knew, and I think he always wanted me to play defense because I played defense. I played both ways in high school. I think with defense being more, I guess, instinctual. That's where he I guess he saw where the best fit would be. So there's a lot of injuries. I was on the scout team up until I think the 6th game of the season, and then there's a lot of injuries to the safety and the DBs, especially during that year. So Bacon got hurt that year, and then a couple other guys. So he kind of pushed me over there. I played a couple of practices. I think I played safety for 2 weeks, and then I got the start against Kent State. And the playbook was a little small because we have so many new people on there. So, we basically were running the base defenses, which, I mean, I guess it ended up working out because we beat UConn that year. I played in that one. And then Jeff Bacon got back healthy and then ended up finishing that year playing Navy, which I'm happy he got back and got to finish his career, playing Navy.
Gotcha. When you're kind of, I guess 2 weeks of practice, was that enough to be like kind of game ready for you? Or because I remember talking to Coach Bateman, and he always said having you on the field was like having another coach on the field, that you really got schemes and kind of, you were really a guy who was really intellectual type player. Was that pretty, were you able to get yourself in 2 weeks ready to be game ready?
Yeah. So I think a lot of it for me is I understand I'm not the biggest or the most athletic person. So for me, it's really watching game film, understanding the strategy and kind of what I think I would do in the situation, and then watching what they do. So on game film, you kind of see what formations they run. So if they're in one formation, they run it 80% of the time. You can kind of creep up a little bit, or if the running back is a yard or 2 yards behind the quarterback, it's going to be a pass or whatever else it was. I kind of studied a lot. And I learned a lot from Coach Bateman. He kind of sat in the film room and kind of taught me a lot as well. So, I think I was definitely game ready. Now I don't think I played the greatest games, but as a freshman, I tried my best, and sometimes I got beat, sometimes I made a good play, but I think a lot of it for me was understanding the game and understanding that, yes, I was not the most athletic. I had Xavier Moss next to me. He might have been the most athletic person on the planet at one point. And then, other guys as well. So for me, it was taking a lot of pride and studying film, kind of knowing what the other team was going to do, and then helping my team be in the best position possible so we could, end up winning the game.
Yeah, and I mean, once you got into the starting lineup, yeah, Jeff Bacon got healthy toward the end of the season, but sophomore, junior, and senior year, I mean, you're the starter from there on, and I'm one of the defensive leaders on, like we talked on, a program on the rise. And man, I look at some of the games that you guys played defensively. And I think one of the ones that comes to mind is the Air Force game your senior year, right? Go at Air Force and 21-0 victory. I think it was one of the first times Air Force has been shut out at home. Do you remember a lot from that game? I mean, is that one? Does that game stick out in your mind, or?
Yeah, I think I'll definitely say that was a huge game because we I don't think we beat Air Force since I was there. The first time I beat them was actually senior year, so that was huge for me to actually get a victory over those guys over in Colorado. And then I came off an injury as well right before that game. I got hurt during Ohio State, so I was out for a couple weeks. And then, Max Regan and Jalen McClinton did a great job. And just happy I got the opportunity to kind of get in there and play against Air Force because, at least for me, I've always, I guess, the rivalry between us and Air Force is a little different than us and Navy. I always want to beat Air Force a little more. But I was happy that my senior year, we got the commander in chief and finally brought it back home.
Is there any reason for that? The rivalry being different between Air Force and Navy? Is there any reason for your perspective?
No, I think it's I think that the game is it's just a little different than everybody knows Army Navy, so you kind of know that there's going to be a rivalry there. But the Air Force Army and also Air Force Navy, it's not as big of a rivalry, but there's also a lot of tension in that one as well. And I always sensed it. Freshman year, and I always felt like we should have beat them the games that we played them. It was always one or two mistakes or a lucky bounce or anything like that. But that's what happens in football. There's going to be a bounce here or there, so you just gotta take your losses and learn from them. But I was happy that we ended up beating those guys because that was a check off the block for me at least.
Yeah, that's a historic performance, right? That will go down. That game can go down in Army football history as shutting out Air Force at their place. And I was looking at, the Eastern Michigan game where James Gibby Gibson makes that, tackle right on the half-yard line on the potential game-winning 2-point conversion. You guys beat Daniel Jones and Duke that year. You beat Temple in overtime. The snow game. I mean, the Armed Forces Bowl versus San Diego State. Wow. I mean, how about that snow game against Navy? That game, wow, that game goes down to the wire. The field goal goes a little bit wide left for Navy. That's another game that goes down in recent Army history.
Yeah, I mean there was a lot of games that season, and it was the same thing freshman, sophomore, junior year. There was always games that I think out of like the 12 games or 13 games we played, 10 of them were always within 3 points within a minute left. So it was either defense or the offense having to step up and make a play. And we did, fortunately, our senior year and junior year. So that was unbelievable on both parts. You have Ahmad Bradshaw over there running the offense. And then, we had AK, John Voight in the Navy game was probably the reason, single-handedly the reason why. Because if he doesn't chase down the quarterback and get that shoestring tackle, they score and then they don't even need the field goal at the end of the game. They kind of just need out. So there was a lot of plays. There's always one or two plays in the game that's the deciding factor. You just never know when they're going to be. So you just have to treat every play independent from the one previous or the one coming in the future. But it was a great experience, and I'm happy we finally got that trophy to come home.
Yeah, that last drive by Navy, you guys really, stalled them a little bit to force the field goal. Were you on the field for that field goal? And what are some thoughts that come to your mind on that drive and that kick?
No, so unfortunately, I got a little injured previous to the field goal play. I was taken back, so I was actually in the locker room watching it from a TV, but. Watching all the guys go out there and dive around and make snow angels after, we ended up getting the win was funny and also just a great time whenever everybody got back to the locker room. You have generals, old Army football players, the current football players, and then some of the future ones as well. Some of the recruits being there. It was a great moment. I'll never forget it. And I think there is that game brought a lot of people closer, and also brought a lot of people. I guess they brought people to want to be Black Knights and be West Pointers, because that game, I think it has the second most viewed in all of college football behind the national championship. So it's a huge game. Every single year, it always brings in the people. So just knowing that both sides of the ball, are gonna serve the country is also a huge thing. So there is a lot of hatred there, but there's also a lot of respect, knowing that regardless, at the end of the game, we're gonna be fighting next to each other. So it was a huge game. I'll never forget it. And a big shout out to John Voight for making that tackle, because if it wasn't for him, we probably don't hold the trophy up.
No doubt. Just a couple other questions I want to ask you. First off, can you describe to people what it's like playing for Jeff Monken, and what the culture is like when because you were one of his first recruiting classes, and then to start out where you guys were and to finish where you ended up?
I think the biggest thing is toughness, that he does expect you to be tough, and he expects you to fight through, whatever it is that you're going through, and be accountable, I guess. So those are the two things: accountability and toughness. Practices are hard. There's a lot of teams that don't tackle and things like that during the week. And then us, pretty much every single Wednesday or Thursday or whatever it was, we were basically doing a scrimmage, even before Navy, we're still tackling each other, which I think kind of puts a toughness in us of, playing through the whistle, never giving up. He expects a lot from you, but he also, he's a great person, a great man, great family man, great coach. I owe a lot to him. He was a great person to me, and instilled a lot of traits, I guess you could say, that are still in me today. Helped me out in my career as well. But yeah, he just expects a lot from you, and accountability is one thing. You're going to show up early to meetings. You're never going to be late, which is something that in real life or whenever you have a job, it's the same thing. You show up early, and then working, or I guess playing through the whistle. If not, we were running sprints on Monday, so you were paying for it. I think at one point, whenever I first got there freshman year, we always count effort plays, people that aren't running to the ball. And I think we had like 120 in a scrimmage. So we did up downs nonstop, 120 of them. And you get about 40 in and you're tired, but we just kept going and going and going. But, there's a lot of funny stories of I guess, someone on the team not doing the right thing, or, just getting in trouble, kind of messing around. And then Coach Monken immediately went straight to sprints or whatever else it was. But yeah, I'm truly grateful for what he did for the program. He changed it around. The culture is completely different now than what it was, and I hope they just keep getting better and better, and I think they will under Coach Monken.
You don't want to fumble during practice, right? Because then you have to take the steps of Mikey Stadium right in the middle of practice too, right?
You do, and the funny thing is, it could be the end of practice, and someone knocks the ball out of your hands, and he sees it. Yes, you run all the way up to the top of the stadium, which, it doesn't look too high up, but it's a good run, and you're in cleats, so you got to watch your step the whole way up and down. But yeah, I remember I think one play, we were doing scout team or just doing reps, and I think I got an interception, was kind of messing around, and they blew the whistle, and someone knocked out of my hands. Coach Monken saw it, and I was like, Coach, it was after the whistle. He said he didn't care, and I started running. So wow. It was a good experience though, and all that stuff, it might seem silly or whatever else, but it truly does. It makes you a better player in the end.
Ryan, I can attest to the steps at Mikey Stadium. I used to go down for pregame and always stay to like the last seconds until I had to get off the field, and I have to run up the Mikey Stadium steps to get to the press box. And then really out of shape. I was winded, no doubt, when I got to the top of those steps. So that was something else. Let me ask you about toughness. You talked about toughness. You were a guy that played through a lot, right? You were a guy that played through a lot of injuries in your career, and if you could get on the field, you were gonna play, right?
Yeah, I think that was a huge thing for me, was always playing through, because you never know when your last snap's gonna be, and I think for a lot of people, football it's been in their lives pretty much their entire lives. I've been doing it since 6 years old, so it's a little different now without it, but for me, it was if I could play and help the team out, then I wanted to play. And I was a little smaller than most of the guys. A lot of the guys are 6'4", 250, and I think I was 5'10". I think the highest I got was 200, and I was tackling running backs, like Rashad Penny, and that dude is a monster. And then you have Aaron Jones and all them. So I was definitely banged up a lot of the time, but if I wasn't capable of making the play, then I wouldn't have gone out there. But I always felt that you never know when your last snap's going to be, so you might as well play through all the pain or play through whatever else comes in your way.
No doubt. You at the beginning of the podcast were talking about Markelle Brun and how he's now one of the captains of this year's Army team. And his mom is actually always watching our podcast, and she's on tonight. And she was saying how you were the one who convinced Markelle to come to West Point.
I won't take full credit in that. I think there was a lot of factors that went into it, but no, he's an outstanding young man, and I'm proud of everything he's accomplished. I hope he keeps accomplishing many more and leads that team to a lot of victories. He's another person that's changed the culture there. I think he brings a lot to the table, and I'm happy to have him as a friend. I love his family to death. Love his sister. Love his mom. Hope they're doing well. And ultimately, I think he's a huge factor in the culture there right now. And I hope he just keeps instilling his wisdom and his ability to just keep that team continuing on a good path.
No doubt. When you watched them Army play defense in 2020 during that pandemic season, they had Markelle and Cedric Cunningham at safety, number 1 ranked again in total yards allowed. What are things that you seen that made that defense successful?
I think it's the exact same as kind of the teams previous to them. Is a lot of it is playing every single snap. Like it's your last snap. They're hard hitters, and I will say they can tackle. Both the safeties back there are great tacklers, but they're also smart guys too, and they know where the ball's going to be. You ever know? I mean, every time there's a turnover, it's either one of those two guys that's either getting the turnover or right there next to it making it happen. So I think a lot of it is just playing through the whistle, and then also, making sure the other guys are in the right position. Because I think Markelle he's a smart guy. He gets the defense set up, puts him in position to make plays, and then you just have to kind of hope that your teammates are going to step up, and that's what they've been doing. So I have nothing but faith in that team. I think they're going to have another great year this year. I think that they can go undefeated as long as they just keep continuing on the path they're on, just keep putting in the work in the off season, and then it's going to pay off during the real season.
Yeah, I mean that defense returns a huge chunk of starters from last year's team, according to Markelle Brun and Cedric Cunningham. They lost John Radigan in the graduation, but Spencer Jones stepped up in that bowl game and looked pretty good, and he's only a sophomore, so things are looking pretty strong on defense for the Black Knights. Ryan, just let people know what you're up to now and what's life like after West Point.
So I started off at Fort Hood. I'm an air defender, so I was kind of doing that, kind of learning it, and then I ended up getting deployed over to Bahrain, which was last year. I was there for 6 months, and then I ended up getting this job over here, which is executive officer of the HHB for the division. So it's a little different now. I was kind of working with soldiers a lot more in the beginning, which I think is probably the most fun and the most enjoyment you'll have is working with soldiers, because you're going to get problems that you never thought you would get, but they're also going to surprise you and just be great people and kind of and make you love your job. Now I kind of do more of the paperwork, so a lot of it is making sure things are getting done at our level, so that the division, so 94th, which is in charge of Japan, Korea, also Guam, and then Hawaii, that they're successful. So I think a lot of the reason why I've been successful in the Army is because of football. I mean, I think a lot of things that were instilled in me are kind of why I don't go home until work's done, or I show up early, make sure I'm in shape, things like that. That I try to make my soldiers kind of keep up to the standard, and a lot of them do. But overall, I think the Army is I would say it's very rewarding. There's a lot of things that go into it, and that you're grateful to have. So I'm out here in Hawaii right now, which I kind of got lucky with the job, but I'll be here for 3 years, and then I think I'm probably going to get out and go coach college football somewhere, hopefully.
Wow. Is that something that you've always kind of had it in the back of your mind, or no?
Yeah, I've always wanted to coach college football. It's been a dream of mine, kind of be a head coach of a team. Is the ultimate goal. But I'll probably start out doing something just DBs or whatever else. Or I mean, even if they need me just to be the film guy, I'll figure it out. But the Army, I'm definitely grateful for the opportunity the Army's given me. I've learned a lot. I've done a lot. I mean, I've traveled the world and things like that. Been to the Middle East, been to Hawaii, which I can say I probably would have never came out here or lived out here at least. Probably came on vacation one time, but it's given me a lot of opportunity. And then, hopefully I've done enough to show them my gratitude. Just keep working hard. But ultimately, I'll probably get out of the Army and then go coach college football.
Well, certainly, that you always seemed like you always had a strong connection with Coach Bateman, right?
Yeah, I still talk to Coach Bateman. I make sure he texts me on Father's Day. I think of myself as his father. He doesn't like that, but yeah. So I still text him all the time. I still text Coach Davis, Coach Monken. I try to keep up with those guys, and then Coach Luce as well. I think they help me a lot in life, and I think it's big to keep those connections.
No doubt. And I think that, just thinking about like Army football grads coming back and coaching, that's something that I think that, you have Mike Vitti at West Point right now, and you see the other academies, Air Force and Navy have grads also there. And I think that, giving back after you've experienced that, there's really no better. I don't think there's no really better teacher. Like you look at a Mike Vitti that you can have than an Army football grad to kind of get the new football players through those experiences, right? I mean, because when there are beast barracks right now, the freshman class for Army, and that's something that not everybody experiences. So,
yeah, no, I think it's definitely it's a huge thing that's kind of overlooked sometimes. That it shows those younger guys that yes, you can make it through, because there's a lot of bad weeks at West Point, where you're going to practice, you're coming down, you have 3 tests that week, and then you have inspections on Saturday, so it gets overwhelming at times. But seeing those guys that's completed it and being there to kind of coach you through it, mentor you there, and kind of show you what's on the outside it's a huge thing. And it definitely pushed me. I remember all my AIs, and then being an AI going to coach at the prep school was very rewarding. I'm grateful for it, and I think that they should keep up the program, because it really does change. It gives you something on the ability to coach football, and kind of see that side of it. But then you also get to change and help the younger class, and then those guys will end up being part of the brotherhood. So being able to mold them, or at least kind of put them on the right path, is a huge thing that I think hopefully doesn't get overlooked, and I hope that they keep doing that program.
No doubt. Just wanted to wrap this podcast up real quick. Ryan, I was thinking about pregame at West Point, and they throw up the video of the starting lineups. And I always remember you introducing yourself and saying that you were from Zone 6, right? It's something that you were pretty proud of, being from that area in Georgia. Talk to us a little bit about that and the pride that you had through that. And you had a couple nicknames too, I think, over the course of your West Point, your Army football career, right?
Yeah, I've had a lot of nicknames. I take pride in giving nicknames, and then I get to pick my own. So I make sure they're not bad. That was a huge thing. But yeah, Zone 6, it's just a part of Atlanta, the northeast side, and I don't know. It was something I kind of always took pride in where I'm from, because you gotta love what you've been through, and I'm definitely grateful. I think I got to play against great people, Alvin Kamara and things like that in high school, that kind of made me a better competitor and things like that. So I'm definitely grateful for where I came from. And then a lot of the nicknames, Nitro was a big one. I kind of made it up on the fly, and then, I started naming people off it, and it stuck. I'm happy with it though. It's a good nickname. I think the funny thing is my parents still call me Nitro. So wow. In the text messages, they're like, Nitro, what are you doing what are you doing this weekend? I'm like, Mom, you've called me Ryan my entire life. But yeah, I think that was a big thing. I used to love giving nicknames, and then seeing them kind of stick, and then people kind of molding to the nickname. But yeah, guess I guess that's one of my good traits. I don't have a lot, but that's one of the good ones is I can come up with a nickname on the fly.
So what were some of your best nicknames, would you say?
Nitro was a big one, and then Pouche Rose. That was when I got in high school, and it kind of stuck through. Coach Bateman loved call me that one, and then call me Nitro. I was trying to give John Trainer one. I tried to give him Turbo. It didn't stick very well though. And then Alex Ackerman, I tried to call him Rambo. He's a big guy, but that one didn't stick either. So I was a little disappointed. But I think hopefully I can just keep trying it, and it's going to stick at some point.
Gotcha. It was just Auk, right? It was just Auk for Alex Ackerman.
Yeah, just Auk. Yeah.
Rambo would have been much better, man.
Yeah, I try to make it stick. He just, he never I don't think he liked it very much, and I was a little disappointed about that because I put a lot of time and effort into that naming.
Absolutely. Just one more. Markelle's mom said you used to say you want to be president of the United States. Is that still one of your goals, or?
That's still one of my goals. So I'm gonna go coach college football, and then after I'm done with that, I'll go up there and see if I can join the politicians and see if I can I think the big thing for me is trying to help people around me, and whatever way I can do that is the way that I guess I want to live life. And running for president, that's something I'm gonna try to do. I might not win, but I'm gonna give it a good shot, and hopefully get a couple votes. Hopefully the Army Brotherhood backs me up. So at least I'm gonna get some votes.
No doubt. I think that every successful Navy quarterback has said they want to run for president one day too. So I mean, you never know. Maybe there'll be you'll have candidates to run against that where you actually played against on the football field. Ryan, we really appreciate your time. Thanks so much. This podcast will be up on Apple, Amazon, and Spotify pretty soon. And we really appreciate your time and look forward to talking to you down the road.
Thank you so much. Appreciate you having me on. Huge shout out to my classmates that are all over the world deployed, or whether they're back at the home station, and then also a huge shout out to the upcoming Army football team. Wish them nothing but success and happiness with whatever they end up trying to do whenever they get out into the Army. And then I think the huge thing is you're always going to find a brother wherever you go. I got out here to Hawaii, and I've already reconnected with six guys that I played football with. So brotherhood runs strong, and I'm definitely grateful for every opportunity that it's given me. And I appreciate you having me on the show.
Absolutely, Ryan. Thanks a lot.